Welcome back to the Win and End podcast. I'm your host, Max P, and I'm joined today by a special guest to do something a little different than we do all the time. I'm joined by Teifer. What's going on, Teifer? How you doing?
Good morning. How you doing? I'm pretty good.
Awesome. We're going to do a deck tech today, and we're going to do one of the decks that's really close to my heart. My first cEDH deck that I ever played, Elsha of the Infinite. And Teifer is one of the very first brewers on this deck, like way back in the day. If you go and look at the main primer, you'll see his name on it because he's been working on this deck since it was spoiled, right? Since Elsha was spoiled.
Yeah, as soon as the card went into my hands from the first precon, I've been hooked on this commander. It's been absolutely insane.
Awesome. And before we get into, sort of Teifer's background and everything, I just want to, we're going to dive deep. We're going to really look at Elsha in a lot of detail and really get into some of the, the reasons why this deck is so great and how it works. But before we do that, just real quick, I want to go do a few housekeeping items. Number one is I am sponsored by Manifold Proxies. And if you go to manifoldproxies.com and use promo code WIN, you can get your proxies for 10% off. And everything you buy goes towards the channel. So that's great. Very helpful. So if you're in the market for proxies, that's where you should go. And they do a great job. Next, there are a few tournaments coming up that I really want to call attention to. The first one is up in New Jersey. Believe it or not, it's called the New Jersey Solstice. And that's going to be on December 21st. And it's in Mount Arlington, New Jersey, and I'll put a link to in the description below so you guys can go register for it. Right now, it looks like it's a 3K, but it looks like an amazing venue. It looks like it's going to be a really good event, so I recommend everyone go sign up. If you're in the New York, New Jersey area, go participate in this tournament.
We will be streaming
awesome.
it.
There you go. Mm-hmm. There you go. So it's going to be awesome. And then the next one is in January. January 24th is going to be the Royal Rumble 2 up in Rhode Island, I believe. It's about an hour south of Boston, put on by the King's Court Gaming crew, Steve, and it is now upgraded. Last time I talked, it was a 15K. Steve went and upgraded it to a 20K. So that event's going to be huge. I know some of my friends from Europe are also going to come down and be a part of that. So they're going to prove to the world that the UK players are better than the US players, or are we going to let them do that? We can't let them do that. So you guys better show up and beat them, right? Come on, let's go. But with that, that's it. That's it in terms of housekeeping. Like I said, Manifold Proxies, the Solstice, and the Royal Rumble. And with that, hey, Teifer, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself? When did you get into cEDH, and what's your origin story when it comes to cEDH?
Oh boy. So, originally I actually started playing Magic just in general back in the 2012 Commander Precons. And don't worry, this actually does tie in because I very much remember I had actually my first ever EDH deck was Derevi, and I always loved the Bant side. However, for some reason, I thought Rubinia Soulsinger was better at that point. But I very much remember during that time, I had always been very interested in wanting to make my deck better and better. And it kind of culminated to about the point of 2017, 2016, when I finally got my first taste of cEDH. At that point, it was when I started, I want to start, building by one color at a time. And so my first ever cEDH deck was actually Azami, Lady of Scrolls Paradox Engine. If y'all remember back when that busted card was still unbanned. Cool. And I just kept enjoying more and more colors until essentially Elsha was printed. It's been kind of love at first sight. It's been kind of just my full focus for the past 6 years now, just Elsha. But yeah, I guess you could consider me an OG. I've been in this world for almost 10 years now. Kind of ridiculous now that I think about it.
It's a long time. And like I said, I mean, Elsha's was my first cEDH deck, and really the deck that really pulled me into this whole format in the first place. Before we really get rolling on this deck, I just want to quickly read what Elsha does and who Elsha is.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of important, right? So Elsha is a Jin Monk. It is Jeskai +2, so it's a 5-mana commander. It starts as a 3/3, but it has prowess, which actually is relevant in a lot of games, believe it or not. And the real kicker here is that you can look at the top card of your library anytime, and you can cast non-creature spells from the top of your library. And if you cast it that way, you cast it as if it had flash, right? So it attacks the game on a very unique access. It's kind of like the experience you get if you play a Bolas's Citadel deck, but in the command zone and a little bit different. But it's very, very powerful. So a little bit of the history of the deck, like where did it start and what did it look like in the very beginning?
So it's definitely started back in 2019. I was not part of the initial creation of the deck, but I very much know, and I have to give a shout out to the people that I do remember, and I will forget names, so I much apologize, but Flash Andretti and Shaper. I very much remember those were two of the biggest creators of the space of the deck. And then when I joined in, it was a just massive community effort. But it was mainly Flash Andretti, me, Mord of the Infinite. There's a Kyle P, I believe his name was. I haven't seen him in a little while, so I can't remember his full name. But it was a massive community effort, and it's just been kind of kept like that throughout the entire time. It was mainly kind of Flash as the main, primer owner and all that stuff. And it's kind of just been everyone tossing around ideas and just keep brewing the deck as it evolved from a simple, pure Grape Shot Storm deck into kind of the behemoth that it is now. And it has gotten so much more complicated and so much more fun as the years progress. It is, yeah.
It's one of those cEDH decks that existed before there was Underworld Breach stuff, right? It was, yeah. And before Thassa's Oracle, right?
So Elsha was printed in August of 2019. And Underworld Breach and Thassa's Oracle was printed in January of 2020. So yeah, we had a good 5-month gap before those two cards kind of changed the format fundamentally. It was such a wild west back then.
Yeah, I was playing Elsha then. I was playing Elsha at that point, and I was an idiot. And I remember all this talk about Underworld Breach. I'm like, no, don't play Underworld Breach. I'm a purist. Like, Elsha wins with top. Why are we gonna play Breach? Get out of here. We're saying, oh, we don't want to play Dockside. Dockside's a creature, and we can't play it off the top of our library. Don't play Dockside.
We thought Grand Arbiter was better than Dockside back then. Oh, how times have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. And the initial deck was really built around the core combo, right? Which is just simply Elsha plus Sensei's Divining Top plus a cost reducer, right? Which just lets you draw your deck.
Correct.
So the A plus B, everyone says, oh, Thassa's Oracle is the cheapest, most compact A plus B in the format. But actually, Sensei's Divining Top plus Helm of Awakening is 3 colorless mana, right?
2 colorless if you just play Helm first.
Yeah, there you go. With that said, talk a little bit about the core of the deck. Like, what is it that makes the deck go? Like, what's the fundamental gameplay that the deck wants to do?
Essentially, Elsha is a mid-range spellslinger storm list. And as you know, that a lot of mid-range decks try to focus on grinding out and being able to get the tutors and essentially try to win through that kind of card velocity. However, Elsha is a little bit different in the fact that we use card velocity in the terms that, Constructed, Modern, and Legacy uses in order to snowball our advantage so much that it overwhelms our opponents and that they will not be able to effectively stop us when we start going off because of just the exponential amount of card access and synergy that we currently have.
Yeah, what I remember most about Elsha is just the fact that, Elsha could win out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have no hand, you have nothing. It doesn't matter because you put Elsha into play and non-deterministically, the whole deck is yours. Right? Because you can play first of all, you could play everything at instant speed, right? So every non-creature spell you can play at instant speed off the top of your library. But you could do things like, oh, look, it's a Lotus Petal. Oh, look, it's a Mox Diamond. Oh, look, it's a Mana Vault. Next thing you know, I have 10 mana, and oh, there's a top. Okay, now I get to draw 3 cards with this Mana Vault. Oh, there's the Helm of Awakening. Now I win. Mm-hmm. And it just has that ability to just, like you said, snowball completely out of control. And you get to run cards like Dragon's Rage Channeler and get way more out of that card than you do in almost any other deck, because the cards lend themselves to clearing the top of your library as you go, so you get to just keep rolling.
I was actually trying to find the term most correctly to attribute this last time we discussed. The thing that I can finally say, because I was finally able to found it, thank you, shout out Pariah, is that Elsha is extremely unique in her specific playstyle. Because the top of our deck is castable at flash speed, fundamentally changes how you actually need to think about the turn order and the turn process. First off, we were the flash meta before everyone started playing Born Upon a Wind. Catch up to us. But when I was talking about card velocity, I just want to make a quick just definition so that way people can understand what I'm saying. The difference between card velocity and card advantage. So obviously, card advantage, Rhystic Studies, Mystic Remorse, you're trading one card for multiple, right? And for card velocity, this is actually something that I've seen a little bit different in cEDH versus other constructed. Because in cEDH, card velocity is usually seen as trading one card for another through a tutor. Turning a demonic tutor into another card that can win you the game. Elsha focuses on card velocity of constructed, where you use, ponders, brainstorms, preordains, something that allows you to not really trade, it kind of trades one for one, but it actually allows you to have a more richer and more focused, potent top deck and just card selection, not specifically card advantage. Now, the reason I need to make that a difference is Elsha can convert that card velocity into almost a one-to-one translation to direct card advantage. Take it for an example of this. If you see a brainstorm on the top of your library, well, instead of trading one card for one card by casting brainstorm in your hand, you're actually gaining a card from brainstorm. You're drawing 3, putting 2 back, but you've cast this brainstorm off the top of your library. You've drawn a card off of that.
Right.
Your Enlightened Tutor, instead of being card negative, it's going off the top of your library. Get your Sensei's top. Well, instead of being card negative, it's now card neutral because you can just cast the Sensei's top. This is the kind of fundamental focus that we've kind of put on, where the velocity now attributes to advantage. And I didn't even talk about how advantage also kind of doubles up, because the more advantage, the more cards you draw, the more cards you see with Elsha, which means the faster you can go. And that's where you see the snowball just start going crazy.
I think the difference between velocity and advantage is something that people don't really think about a lot. And there's a lot of differences there. I mean, velocity to me is really how many cards do you get to see, right? And get access to. Because one of the problems with card advantage is oftentimes you get into these games where, okay, I have a Rhystic Study, I have a Mystic Remora, I'm going to draw 20 cards, and they're all the wrong cards.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
And it's much more difficult to draw 20 cards than it is to look at 20 cards and pick one, right? Mm. Which is, it's interesting because you could see sort of my own journey a little bit in that I played Elsha, and like you said, Elsha gives you this great velocity where you get to see lots and lots of cards and get through them and turn those cards into advantage, right? Because you see a card on top of your library, you can now play it and get to the next card, mm-hmm. right? Which gives you the velocity and then advantage because you get to put things into play, and led me to playing Florian, where Florian, again, you attack, I see a bunch of cards, I pick one and play it.
That was such a good deck, by the way. I love the way you brewed it back then.
Yeah. So I leaped right from Elsha basically to Florian. I played Blue Farm in between a little bit, but you could see how it translates, right? Mm-hmm. Because that velocity is so important, and I don't think any other deck in the format has the velocity that Elsha has potentially. Now, like, there is a bit of luck involved because if you hit a land on top of your library, you just bricked and now you're stuck, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't hit lands, you don't hit creatures, you can just keep going, roll right through.
It is very much a problem with the deck of bricking with Elsha. However, given the amounts of ways we have to manipulate the top deck, not just like we had to put it in, but just accidentally, that already is in the deck of a good Jeskai list. It allows us to already be able to constantly shuffle the top deck, so that way we always have another thing to look. Or even like you were talking about earlier, Dragon's Rage Channeler. Every spell now gives us a chance to look at 2 more cards and allows us to find a way to navigate around that whiff rate. And that is that whiff rate is an entire other sub game that you have to play when building Elsha as well.
So let's talk about the core of what you're trying to do in Elsha. Like when you mulligan, you draw your cards, you start playing your turns. Like, what are you trying to get to? What are you trying to do? So
the end game is to gain access to your deck. Unlike a lot of other decks that, use Thoracle or other stuff like that, they can kind of do 1-2 cards and then just win the game like that. All of the combos and lines that Elsha uses has us gain access to our deck in one of a few ways. Either we draw it all and put it into our hand, or we mill it all and put it into our graveyard, and we have Underworld Breach to use our cards as we wish. And then from that way, we can win however we want.
The core combos at that point are basically top plus cost reducer, right? Lets you draw your entire deck, or breach plus brain freeze. Or do you play grinding station?
No, we do not, but we play Wheel of Fortune.
Okay, so you can, right, which does the same thing, because you get breach, you wheel, and get through your whole deck that way, right?
Yeah.
What other ways are there to get access to your deck besides those 2?
So there are a few different ways. The ones that I'm just going to lightly note would be everything that is Displacer Kitten.
Ah, yes.
This is perhaps the most broken card in the list, and it is my most favorite one. But everyone would probably understand the Azorius combo of Displacer Kitten plus Teferi Time Raveler. The titular combo of being able to -3 to return any mana neutral or mana positive artifact to your hand, recast it, Kitten, blinks Teferi, and you just continue ad nauseum until you have your entire deck in hand.
So you have Teferi, you have Displacer Kitten, you have Lotus Petal on the battlefield. You minus Teferi to bounce the Lotus Petal. You replay the Lotus Petal, which triggers Kitten, which flickers Teferi, which lets you once again bounce the Lotus Petal, draw a card, and repeat, and you will draw your entire deck that way.
Yes, exactly. It is one of our more protected wins, because Teferi obviously innately has a silence attached to it, and since it does not use the compact win of Breach or the commander, the ease of usage of the top combo from Elsha, it is not tutorable, so it is like more of a backup win, but it is still a decisive win at that point.
And of course, little advantage to think about here is if you have Elsha and you happen to have Teferi on top of your library, and you get to your opponent's end step before your turn, you can cast Teferi in your opponent's end step, and then go into your turn with Teferi in play.
So this is the fundamental difference in mindsets and how you have to think about Elsha. I would consider of all the commanders in the current meta, because a lot of commanders that are very popular are masters of something. Kitten's the master of mana, Blue Farm is the master of just card quality, Elsha is the master of the stack. Knowing when to cast the cards off the top of your library and when to use them to your benefits can help decisively close a game. And being, like you said before, being able to cast Teferi off the top of your library on an opponent's end step to force a silence, and then be able to go off on their end step, and then if you get stopped, untap and just go again, is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So, all right. So we've got top, we got Teferi Kitten, We got Breach. Those are basically the core combos of the deck, right?
Yeah, we do have another one that's kind of like, oops, I just drew of a Fairy Mastermind plus double Smothering Tithe, but that's more of a, you don't really go for it. If you accidentally have it, then might as well win kind of thing. But it is not core.
Yeah. Right. And I run that in TNT too, but it's not, I wouldn't consider it a win con, but sometimes it just is. Sometimes it just gets the job done.
Exactly.
Right. Are you running? So let's get into card choices a little bit.
Sure.
So you have a list up here on the screen, right? And there's multiple different lists I've looked at. Which one is this?
This one is my personalized list. Now, you did mention that there are multiple lists that you have looked at. The Elsha community currently has 3 main lists that we look at the moment. We have the main primer, the official main primer called the To Infinity and Beyond. We have my list, which is the intermediate list, the Infinite Hands. And then we have the list of the current person who's had recent wins. His name is Kowalski, and his deck list is called Elsha's Stackin' and Stumbling. He's the one who's been putting Elsha on the board, and he's actually gotten a win or two with her at, big events of like 60 or more people.
Got it. And then looking at the core of these decks, so if you look at a compare between the Infinity and Beyond primer list and your list, so there's 10 cards difference, which is kind of a good opportunity to sort of compare the core of the list. Because if you look at the core of you get 90 cards essentially, including Elsha, that are all sort of staples, and they make sense when you look at them. I mean, you've got the Ristics, you got the Mystics, you got the Smothering Tithes, you got all of your artifacts, Fairy, all these normal cards that really you would expect to see in a Jeskai list. Then you start to see some of the things that are unique specifically to Elsha. Of course, Displacer, Kitten, Teifer, like we just talked about. We also see Unwinding Clock, which is really interesting, and we'll talk about that in a second. We see Tezzeret, Cruel Captain, which I think this may be the best deck for Tezzeret. And we see Artist Talent. You see Dramatic Reversal. So let's talk through some of these that are the same first.
Sure.
And start with the one that jumps out at me the most, which is Unwinding Clock. Why is Unwinding Clock in this deck? What's the story there?
I had a feeling you would actually bring that up. Hold on, I'm trying to find Unwinding Clock in my blind. There it is. I had a feeling you would actually bring up Unwinding Clock as one of the cards that is interesting. People would definitely raise their eyes because, initial thoughts would be, oh, it's an artifact Seedborn. Well, it's not that good because it's just artifacts. This is the only pure support card that we run in the entire deck. By itself, it does nothing. However, we run 20 artifacts, 16 of which are mana rocks on average. The ability to untap our mana rocks during each opponent's turns allows us to have more attempts and more mana to keep casting off the top deck with Elsha. It also has a fun little synergy with the One Ring because, every time you tap the One Ring, it draws cards. So in one turn cycle, it draws us 15 cards with Unwinding Clock. And 8 colorless mana, that's just a Jeska's Will on a person with 7 cards plus 1 extra mana. So it's 4 mana for 2, so it's pretty simple to cast. But Unwinding Clock essentially allows the power level of all the engines and micro engines that we have in the list, and combined with the mana rocks that we also run, and just astronomically boosts the uses that we can have of them. By having more mana on every single turn, it allows us to have more development off the top deck. It also allows us to be able to be a little bit more greedy during our turns and tap out, knowing that on our opponent's turns, we will have mana to interact. And if we don't need to interact, we can just cast more spells off the top of our library and continue our development. And basically make everybody's turns our turns at a better rate than Thrasios could ever dream of.
See, one thing people who haven't played this deck don't realize is it often falls into this play pattern where you have Elsha in play, you have the top of your deck to work with, and the limiter really is mana. Right? You're able to do 3 or 4 different spells right off the top of your library, and you're like, damn it, I have a great spell on top, but I'm out of mana to cast it. I can't do it. Pass the turn. If you have Unwinding Clock, right, it refunds you that mana for the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So you're able to continue during their turn. And you get into that situation where every single turn you're just dumping the top of your library onto the battlefield. And then you get back to your turn and you're in a powerful position. So it makes sense to me when I think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, so much of your mana in this deck, you don't run any dorks. There's no mana dorks in Jeskai. All of your mana sources are artifact based. So it makes a lot of sense. It really does. The next card I want to point to is Cruel Captain, Tezzeret Cruel Captain.
Cruel Captain. Oh, you were very much correct by saying that Tezzeret is probably at its best in Elsha. Now, I'm going to say that part last because I'd like to save the best for last. Tezzeret is incredibly powerful in just Jeskai in general, actually, because it allows us to have a card advantage engine, it allows us to have a mana advantage engine, and it allows us to have a tutor for 3 colorless mana without having to put anything in, just at its base. And since Elsha is playing 20 mana rocks, we're going to be able to constantly -3 him at least twice a game on average.
Right.
And
see,
yep.
One of the weaknesses of Jeskai is tutors. You just don't have that many tutors in Jeskai. Like, you don't have access to black. You can't demonic tutor. You can't do any of those things. But Tezzeret is a tutor and tutors everything that you need from this deck, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I was just doing a quick count. Tezzeret, a lot of people would consider the value 1 or less fetch to be pretty bad. We have 12 targets that we can tutor for. Now, this includes incredibly important cards like Mana Vaults, just that way we can, cast Tezzeret, get Mana Vault, play Mana Vault, and now next turn we have 6 colorless mana with Tezzeret 0. We can tutor for Esper Sentinel, 13. We can tutor for Esper Sentinel, and Tezzeret 0 allows Esper Sentinel to permanently grow. So that way, that 1 mana to draw a card every turn now becomes 2. People are less likely to pay for the 2, honestly. But the more important cards that it actually gives, aside from all the other mana rocks, is Lion's Eye Diamond for breach combos, and Sensei's Divining Top for top combos. The 2 most important cards. And this is where it gets nutty, because Tezzeret is one of a 2-card combo that instantly wins the game in Elsha. With Displacer Kitten, because of course it is.
Go on.
Would you like me to describe it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So the way it works is you have Tezzeret out, you need to have Tezzeret with at least 4 loyalty, and you play Displacer Kitten. And the way you want to do it is you basically want to -3 Tezzeret for a mana rock, usually a 0-drop like Mox Amber, like Lotus Petal, Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, Chrome Mox, and all these cards. And essentially what you want to do is every time you tutor, you would cast it, trigger Displacer Kitten. Displacer Kitten would target and then flicker Tezzeret, bringing him back to 4 loyalty. And you would keep doing this until you have 3 colorless mana plus blue, white, and red. Then you would -3 Tezzeret 1 more time, get Sensei's Divining Top, and then use 5 of that 6 mana, leaving 1 colorless open, to cast Elsha for Command Zone. And then as your final act, use the final colorless to cast Sensei's Divining Top. This would trigger Displacer Kitten, and instead of flickering Tezzeret, you would actually have Displacer Kitten target Mana Vaults. This would then flicker it, and you are now generating 2 colorless mana every time you are casting Sensei's Divining Top. Which means you can pay for 2 Rhystic Studies innately.
Draw your entire deck.
And draw your entire deck and just win.
Yeah, amazing. So you play Tezzeret for 3, and if you have plus Displacer Kitten, and you just win the game, right? Because you tutor up any free rock, and then you tutor chain your way through the deck at that point. Put all those 0 mana or 1 mana rocks onto the battlefield, and cast Elsha, get top, cast top, win the game. Insane.
And to give you another thing that is also incredible, another thing to note is this can be very turn 2-able as well, because all you would need would be a blue land, Mana Vault, Tezzeret, and Kitten because you could just do land, Mana Vault, Tezzeret, untap Mana Vault, and then turn to second land, and then tap 4 for Kitten, and then just start -3ing Tezzeret, and now you just immediately go off. Turn 2. It's
insane.
Uncommon since it's hard to tutor for them, but the times you do, ooh, no one expects it. Especially mid-range deck.
Hot.
Oh.
Hot. So Tezzeret's insane in this deck. I'll also call attention to Artist Talent, which I'm a big fan of. I've played this card about a bunch in the Green Goblin / Norman Osborn. This deck is underplayed. If you're playing Breach and you're in a low color deck, hey, you're not playing Blue Farm specifically, I think, you should probably consider being on Artist Talent. This card is insane with Breach. And in Elsha, it's also a cost reducer, right?
And it is also, because now, actually, recently, all 3 levels have a use. You are very much correct. I do believe Norman Osborn is probably one of the very few decks that use Artist Talent level 1 better than Elsha does. Because this goes back to the card velocity discussion we were talking about earlier, where the rummage effect, yes, it's not a loot, but it does, that rummage it on itself with Elsha out does 3 things. 1, it gets rid of the top deck that could be a brick. 2, it helps us sculpt our hand such that we can actually, if we say wheel and we draw 3 lands, we can start casting the other non-creatures and start getting rid of those lands. And number 3, it fuels Breach, which is very important to any Breach deck. All in just for 2 mana. And then, like you said, for an additional 3 mana, it now becomes a top reducer and just allows us just randomly go off with top. And then level 3, funny enough, is actually really good with Vivi. Because why not turn Vivi into a bolt for each non-creature instead of just, a gut shot? It's insane.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of sick when you think about it. Like, a Vivi plus Artist Talent plus top, even if you don't have the infinite combo yet, you don't have the cost reducer. Well, actually, you would. You have the cost reducer.
You would.
You just win.
Yeah.
You just kill everyone with just, you know what I mean? You just win, period.
A fun side thing, by the way, is if you cannot win through normal means, there have been multiple instances where many of us have actually played Artist Talent and then copied Artist Talent, got both of them to level 3 with a Vivi on the field, and just manually stormed, dealing 5 damage to each opponent for each card cast. And it was... Listen, Elsha can do that easily. The mana is the only difficult part, but the manual storing part, we can easily cast, 6 or 7 spells and just kill them instantly.
Very cool. Very cool. This is also the deck that you get to play both Counterbalance and Power Balance in if you want.
Exactly. Counterbalance and Power Balance are... I would say let's focus on Counterbalance first, because I know Counterbalance has a kind of a reputation to uphold in the meta. A lot of control decks and a lot of mid-range decks try to use it in order to help corral a lot of decks. And I would say that aside from Elsha, the only other commander that can kind of use it, the 2 commanders that can use it as well as Elsha, Glarb and... oh shoot, what's the name? Dimir, Control. Or Talion.
Yeah, Talion.
Talion and Glarb. Those would be the 2 commanders that can use Counterbalance almost as well as Elsha. Glarb because they can also look at their top decks, but they have
Talion because it can clear it very consistently, right?
Yeah, and the only reason that Glarb can't really keep up with Elsha is because, well, they stuff their decks full of 4-drops, just to enable to use Glarb as well. And then Talion can't really control their top deck as efficiently as Elsha, because their draw is a force draw, correct? Whenever they have a trigger?
Yes.
So they're still very good. And being able to slam a early Counterbalance in order to stifle a turbo deck, or be able to just have the threat of the legacy threatening countertop combo is game breaking, especially when your deck's average mana cost is 1 to 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the same can be said to Power Balance as well. Power Balance is incredibly good. Now, originally when it was first printed, we didn't think it was as good as it was, but recently we've actually increased the amount of top deck manipulation and stuff like that, and Power Balance has just exploded in value. Because think of it like this. You have a 2 mana investment And if someone else casts a Demonic Tutor and you show an Arcane Signet off the top of your library, you just made your mana back already. Now everything that you cast on the top of your library off of Power Balance is pure profit, and it changed the top deck. It's no longer a 2-drop on there. So now it becomes a fun little game of, well, what's on top? You never know. And it's very good because unlike Counterbalance that kind of stifles your opponents and turns it into a control and mind game, Power Balance actually pushes your game plan forward and allows you to have a lot more value that's being given for free. Because
and Elsha, you have so much artifact ramp. I mean, it just Power Balance just ramps the crap out of you, right?
Oh, yeah.
If nothing else. It's almost like having a Rhystic or a Mystic in play, right? Because every time someone casts a 1-drop, you're like, oh, cool. Here's a 1-drop. Here's a Soul Ring. Oh, there's a 2-drop. Okay, here's an Arcane Signet. Oh, you played a 0-drop. I'll cast this Sopal. Like you just get to ramp out really hard right from the top of your deck, which is pretty cool. And since you have Elsha, you get to know what's there, so you don't have to do it. You're like, no, I choose not to do Power Balance on this, and then people don't really know what you have. Right, you get to keep that secret, which is pretty hot.
And then just a small additional part, combining Power Balance with other top deck manipulators like Dragon's Rage Channeler, other things that, when you cast a non-creature, you Surveil, you Scry. It allows you to have that additional top deck looking. So that way, if you don't have Elsha, you can still have that information.
Very cool. Very cool. Last card I want to highlight, and then I want to get into some matchup discussion, is Claim the Firstborn. Yeah. And I think I know where that came from, but I'll let you talk about it.
Yes, you very much know where it came from, because I messaged you about it a little while ago. So this actually came from our good friend, shout out Kowalski, who actually watched your deck presentation of Godo. And that's where this thought first popped into our head. And as for those of you who are not reading, being able to steal any creature CMC 3 or less is insane. Because, well, for most people, the best cards would be
Magistrate,
Drannith Magistrate. I was going to steal an Opposition Agent, steal a Drannith Magistrate, and just be able to temporarily stop it. However, the better way for it to be used is to actually drive forward our game plan. Well, with Elsha out, Claim the Firstborn on top is an instant. So what if we just, oh, are you trying to go off on another opponent's turn? Let me just steal your Valley Floodcaller real quick. And now my hand is instant speed. Oh, you have a Kitten? Here, can I borrow that real quick so that way I can double all my mana rocks? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
Do you have a Tymna over there? Oh, is that person about to attack with a Crom? Hey, how about this? How about this? If I attack with their Tymna, can you kill their Crom and help, tempo them a little bit lower in the game? It is such an interesting piece to play, because of how creature forward so many decks are, that while yes, we do miss some very specific cards like a Seaborn Muse or a Crom that we cannot steal, the cards that we can steal are so monumental and so beneficial that it is always worth playing it. I mean, heck, even Claim the Firstborn just to take a Birds of Paradise to just turn that red into a blue is very useful, especially if we need that kind of filtering that game.
Or I'll take your Breeze Caller. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, steal the Breeze Caller.
Yeah, it's pretty solid interaction. It does a lot for you guys. The card's amazing. Yeah, really, really cool. And it also kind of segues nicely into the matchup discussion, because one thing that I remember about playing Elsha was getting hosed by Drannith Magistrate, getting hosed by Stax, right? So would you say that Stax is a weak matchup for Elsha? Is that one of the weaknesses of the deck?
It is still a weakness, but it is not as big of a weakness as it once was. Yes, Drannith Magistrate stops both of our primary win cons. However, the deck is still built to be able to basically build up behind it and underneath Drannith and be able to manually storm and then create our own window at moment's notice. I have had games where I had an Elsha on play and someone dropped a Drannith Magistrate that was protected, and it took me 3 or 4 turns to basically just bide my time until I found the correct time to win on instant speed in front of 2 other people that were trying to win. And it all came through having to navigate through all of it. So it doesn't stop us dead like it once did. However, it does just cause a little bit of a road bump that we just kind of need to navigate a little bit more around. And that's where, you know, all that deck velocity stuff comes into play. Because once we find that, you know, Into the Floodmaw or that Chain of Vapor or Path to Exile, that card is just like, we just wait until a perfect moment and then we just win.
Yeah. And if you have to have a weakness, being weak against Stax is, I think, where you want to be right now, because the Stax just isn't that good. And, you know, most of the time those games are going to end up in draws, or, you know, if you have to pick a weakness, that's the one you want to be weak. What's your strongest matchup, you think?
This is going to sound crazy, but Blue Farm is our strongest matchup. Now, I say Blue Farm just to get the clicks, but more specific, come on, you got to have some kind of clickbait. But our best matchup are decks that want to grind. With the way, because Jeskai does not have the ease of general tutors, that is why we have focused on the velocity. And since we already have such a harsh focus on grinding and getting that snowball going, we are better at grinding than almost any other deck in the format, except Wheeliod. I'm so scared of that deck.
That's funny.
Any single mid-range deck, you know, Blue Farm, Kitten, Tezzeret, almost every single Thrasios deck, any deck that wants to basically play their Rhystic Studies, play their value engines, and draw the game. Elsha works at its best when everyone is at parity. Because if everyone's at parity, Elsha plays on everybody's turns, and everyone needs to cast a spell or sacrifice a land in order to be at the same amount of consistency and casting that we innately can.
Very cool. And then what about Turbo? How you doing with the Turbo meta right now?
You know, well, I mean, so it does not completely foil us these days. I always am of the mindset that you have to play a little bit safer when you're against turbo decks. However, when Elsha is against 3 turbo decks in a single pod, it becomes just a roll of the dice. There's not much you can do. However, when you're against only 1 or 2 turbo decks, as long as you have another person to help corral those turbo decks in and, you know, stop them from trying to do their turn 2 wins, you know, like from Ral, Crick, Nala, Rogsai, all those fancy people. As long as you're able to stop them and get to the turn 4, which is after our setup turns, we can very much interact at a much, much more advantageous level and be able to consistently stop them.
But you need people to play a little bit responsible. You need to get to turn 3, turn 4 is the objective. Like if they're putting multiple wins on the stack before you get to your turn 3, you're probably in trouble. But I think that's true of every single deck in the format right now, with very few exceptions. And the bigger problem is just overarching people not playing responsibly anyway. So, you know, once that shifts a little bit, I think Elsha's one of those decks that will play really well into the mid-range game that comes.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Because, I mean, the only reason Turbo is, well, one of the few reasons that Turbo is going wild right now is because mid-range players have gotten too greedy. And that's what allowed the Turbo decks to just go out and basically just jam. I just had this happen to me today. Oh, no.
I was playing against, I was in 4th seat and Rawl was in 1st seat, and the other 2 decks at the table, I'm like, guys, we need to deal with Rawl. If we don't deal with Rawl, we're just gonna die. And the player in 2nd seat goes, all right, I got this. I'm gonna cast to solve the equation. I'm gonna go tutor. I'm like, okay, good. He's gonna get removal for Rawl, and we're good to go. No, he goes gets the gifts and given. I'm like, brother. Like, I understand that lets you win in a future turn, but there is no future turn because Rawl's gonna win right now.
Exactly.
And sure enough, Rawl untaps, and then the player in 3rd seat plays a Mystic Remora. He kept a hand that didn't have interaction. And he's like, oh, yeah, this Mystic Remora will draw me interaction. And it's the same play pattern. Rawl just goes. And I'm like, guys, this is what happens. And I'm like, I have 1 piece of interaction. I'm like, there's no point in me interacting anymore because you've got a gifts and given to win, and you drew 35 cards off your Mystic Remora. So we're just dead.
Yeah, it's
so greedy. People playing too greedy.
I feel like people will start learning the benefits and the balance, because greed is good, if that makes any ironic sense, but understanding when to be greedy is the big thing.
Yeah, Yeah, you have to play somewhat greedy, but you also have to have a little bit of responsibility, just a little
always,
bit.
always.
Like one piece of something that slows someone down, to try to get through that first turn cycle or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would also like to bring up another deck that is a little bit of a problem. It's not our worst matchup. It would actually be hard to interact with decks. Decks that don't really cast as well, like Sisay, Magda, Lumra. Yeah, like
Tayam's got to be a nightmare, right?
Oh gosh, Tayam is a problem. It is one of our worst matchups. It is not the worst matchup because it is slower than us. As long as we're able to get our foundation set up, we can actually play around Tayam pretty efficiently and effectively. But the Magdas, the Lumras, the things that deal with ETB effects and like stuff that are really annoying for us to deal with, that kind of basically are a swords or bust kind of commander. Those are another kind of deck that are a little bit difficult for us to deal with.
Makes sense. Okay, well, cool. I think we covered a lot of the deck here. I think now's a good time for us to get into mulligans and start looking at some hands. So you wanna go ahead and pull those up?
Sure. Is this what you were looking for?
Yeah, and let me try to let me give you my take on it first, then you can tell me if I'm wrong or right. Okay. So I look at this hand, and the first thing I think about is, okay, if I'm in first seat, a turn 1 Vexing Bauble is always appealing. However, there's not a lot of follow-up here. You don't have any mana sources. You don't have a third mana source. So, your turn 2 to turn 3 just may not even exist. Like, you can go turn 1 Bauble to turn 2 Artist Talent, and if you draw a land, you're fine. If you don't, you're dead, right? Basically.
This hand is extremely pod dependent. I would say this hand is fantastic against a pod that has at maximum 1 turbo deck. Main reason I'm saying is because we have the unfortunate situation of having a Thundering Falls in the hand. Now, yes, you are correct. A turn 1 Vexing Bauble is fantastic, but you also very much actually show that since we have a Thundering Falls, we really can only hope on a Swords to Plowshares doing something. So if we were to keep this hand, it would most likely be Thundering Falls to see if we can get some card quality and some card velocity going. Then turn 2, either Vexing Bauble off of Thundering Falls and then holds up Swords to Plowshares, or if no one is threatening a win or you don't think anybody is, Artist Talents, and then get the Rummage Machine going by turn 3 playing Vexing Bauble or Burgi plus Vexing Bauble.
Yeah, I don't want to do this. I don't want to play that.
I'd rather not either. It's too much. So let's try again. Oh, okay.
Oh, we got a turn 1 fish is always appealing. That's going to stay up forever, but there's literally nothing else here. So you're really relying on that fish to completely carry you. And I never keep these hands just on principle.
Yeah.
Right.
This hand is an immediate ship, mainly because Lotus Petals are our only colored source. If the City of Traders was a colored source, like a command tower or any fetch land, this would actually be a snap keep. The main reason is because, like you kind of showed actually, being able to have a turn 1 Mystic Remora, but also have a Lotus Petal for either an Enlightened Tutor or Swords to Plowshares on command. Or if Mystic Remora gets stopped, you also have Burning Prophet, and then you can start the Scry Chain to get the card velocity going as well. But
there's no responsibility here whatsoever,
no.
Right? Like you.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Oh no.
Yeah, complete disaster.
Yeah.
In this case. So next one. Okay, so this we're gonna get to top. Again, this doesn't work for me because we have no real turn 2 play here. I mean, I guess I'm gonna play Urza Saga first. Then I'm gonna play Burning Prophet, I guess, on turn 2 is the plan, and then what?
Turn 3 Gifts Ungiven.
I get a Soul Ring or something, or a Mana Vault, I guess, and then this is terrible.
This is a bad keep, unfortunately. Where's my
So we're gonna go to
hands?
5 now.
Heck.
Yeah, we're going to 5. Okay, this is
a keep.
So let's see.
Tell me, why is this a keep?
I don't love this hand. I don't know why you like it more than I do. So let's see. I can play Mox Diamond, Urza Saga. I'm going to play Esper Sentinel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this hand. Why do you like this hand?
But it is a solid hand because it provides mana. And yes, we are definitely restricted onto 1 land being in Urza Saga. That is bad. However, putting away Savine's Reclamation and either Mox Amber or Helm of Awakening would give us a Urza Saga, Mox Diamond, Talisman of Creativity, and an Esper Sentinel. The Esper Sentinel would give us early card draw in order to be able to draw either another land or another source of mana, such that we can then turn 2, get the Talisman of Creativity down, and then be able to start having the 3 or 4 mana, and then drawing cards off of Esper Sentinel to be able to get that advantage going with that way.
And this is a 5.
This is a 5. Yeah.
So we're definitely keeping Urza Saga, Mox Diamond, Esper Sentinel. And then we probably want to keep the Talisman. And I think we want to keep probably the Helm. Or no, we could, you know, we could keep the Savine's Wreck too if we wanted to, right?
So,
and that can get us back Urza Saga again.
That is another way to go. My thought process was Mox Amber, such that if we drew Mox Opal, we actually would have Metalcraft immediately. And then that would allow us to cast Talisman of Creativity. That is a little 1% chancer.
Yeah, this is a tough 5, but it is a 5 that I'd probably keep.
Now, let's
draw a card though.
Let's
just see what the card would be.
Never punished.
Okay, now it's good.
Never punished.
Boom, now it's a good hand, just like that. Poof.
Yeah, because now it's
not
not
good shape.
It's not a turn 1 Talisman Esper Sentinel, but it's still a turn 1 Mox Diamond Polluted Delta. Actually, no, you would Urza Saga.
Oh yeah, you play Urza Saga, you play Mox Diamond, pitching the Polluted Delta.
And you have Esper
play
Sentinel.
the Esper Sentinel and pass.
And actually, I mean, no, you're very much right. Actually, I mean, now hindsight's 2020, but Savine's Reclamation, if we did draw fetch land or any kind of Lotus Petal or something, would have been good on that. No, that's a good catch on you.
That's why I usually keep Savine's for situations like this, because it solves a lot of problems. Like, let's say someone kills your Esper Sentinel and you get it back. Like, it's just better here.
Just side question:
let's try
why
another
would
one.
someone kill an Esper Sentinel?
No, the Bowmaster usually. So you need mana sources.
That is the.
Okay, this is. I mean, I'm keeping this hand. It's risky, and slow, right? In this case, but this is a second 7. Okay, Urza Saga is going to get me to mana eventually. It's going to play top immediately. I'm probably not going to play the Gitaxian Probe just yet. I'm going to hold it because I'm hoping that I can play Vivi before I play Probe, right? But it just depends on what I draw.
That's fair,
right?
And
so
I would be the same, honestly.
Right. And turn 3, I'm going to be able to play Elsha and have top,
3,
which is pretty fucking good.
Yes, that is correct. And you actually would be 1 mana reducer away from just killing the board, because you also have Vivi, which is a killer.
Yeah.
And you always have the 4th land.
The land's not good here, but that's okay.
Yeah. I would also keep this hand if I was going into a slow game. Having the turn 3 Elsha to turn on Fierce Guardianship is actually quite nice, because it allows us to have at least 1 piece of protection, and then being able to untap and then, cast Vivi, like you said, and then cast Git Probe, and then start being able to draw. So
let's actually play this, because I want to see, like, one thing that's missing from thinking about mulliganing with Elsha is seeing the top of your deck and what could happen. So in this case, let's play the Urza Saga. Let's play the top.
Oh, right. Actually, no, I would not play the top.
Not play the top.
Now, this is a very interesting why. So, yes, to be mana. So, there's 2 reasons why. There's a reason why, and there's a reason why not to. The reason why to play Sensei's Divine Top is to be mana efficient and to always be efficient on curve. It's valid. However, people treat Elsha like the boogeyman. So, if you have Sensei's Divining Top on the field, Elsha is very much more likely to be countered. And it causes a much bigger threat factor to be focused onto you, because once, so you want to usually cast Elsha first, and then you want to usually cast Sensei's later.
Gotcha.
On most scenarios. Obviously, it's not every time, but for this, you'll want to hold off onto it.
Okay, so we're just playing Elsha. We're just playing Urza Saga and passing
Correct.
At this point, right?
Yep.
Go to the next turn, right?
Useless.
Okay.
So
we want to fetch because we want to thin out. We don't want to keep drawing land.
Yes. Right? So at this point, we're at 2, and we would actually be getting Thundering Falls. We have nothing to use for our mana, and actually increasing the card velocity would actually be a lot easier.
Yep.
So do that. We shuffled.
Get a Surveil.
Put that in the graveyard. We do not need that.
We don't want that.
All right.
All right. And now we go to our 3rd turn when things get a little more interesting, right?
Ooh.
Okay.
The one thing I would like to complain about, because I don't think we've noted this before. Elsha plays 24 lands. How are we flooding?
Yeah. Yeah, crazy.
Anyway.
But this is better than people think, right? Because you're going to get one colorless off the Urza Saga, then you're going to get colored mana, right? Which is going to be a Mox Diamond, I think, right? I think I want a Mox Diamond here.
Yes, we would want a Mox Diamond. Nope, Mox Diamond. Because the Mox Diamond ETB, we would discard the Hollowed Fountain at this point.
Not the City of Traders?
No, because playing this...
Yeah, I think the City of Traders is worse.
But City Traders, that gives us 4 mana, allows us to be able to play Vivi, then Git Probe, then Sensei's Divining Top.
Yeah, okay. You sold me on it. Yeah.
We don't have a turn 3 Elsha, but a turn 3 Vivi plus 2 things is still quite powerful. And it allows us to also have enough mana to do other things. Actually...
All right, so now we play the...
Wait. We have that additional mana. No. We would want to save the City of Traders. No, sorry. I would like to take this back. We would actually want to play the Hollowed Fountain, because this sets up our 3 colors for next turn. It allows us to play City of Traders now. We're still getting the 3 mana from the tapped Urza Saga mana to play Vivi, as well as Sensei's Divining Top. This will be the turn we will be shields down from Fierce Guardianship. There's unfortunately no going around, but we'll see how it goes.
1, 2. I just want to do math in my head real quick here.
Because we have 4 mana, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. We would have 3 for the Vivi, 1 for the Sensei's Divining Top, and 0 from the Git Probe. But we would hold off on Sensei's Divining Top to see what we draw off of Git Probe and see what information we would look at from the Turbo player specifically. So we would do that. We would add a counter. We would deal everyone a damage, and then we would draw. That's a good card for later.
Huh?
And then that, and then we would actually activate Vivi to cast Sensei's Divining Top, because now we have an ability to use this blue mana to brainstorm, and if we actually need some kind of emergency things, we have the mana for a brainstorm in case issues happen. And if it gets to our turn, we can just look at the top 3.
And right, because at the end step you get to spin top, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the mana to spin top. So let's go to one more turn, because I want to get Elsha in play and see what happens.
That's fair, but let's look at the top.
I think we want the fetch land because we want to clear that stuff.
That is exactly true. Oh, like that, which means that to that. Yeah, that's fine. So let's flip that back over. So we're at 2 here.
Yep.
Now we have... Yeah, we could have gotten rid of City of Traders, but that doesn't matter anymore. We always want to shuffle this. Always Volcanic Island. Having the double red and double blue is incredibly important compared to other things.
All right. So we probably want to... Do you want to brainstorm first because it's free?
Yeah, we're going to brainstorm first no matter what. We're going to go up to 3 and then... Ooh. Okay.
Did we just win?
Hold on, let me count. I think we do. 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, hold on. Sorry, this is the amount of... This goes into one of the things that I was talking about. So we're at 3 because of the brainstorm. 2 over there. We need Hollowed Fountain open. No, we need Mox Diamond for the white. So 1, 2, that. That brings us to 4, 4, 7, 8. 8, 5. Yeah, that's exactly. We have Exactsies to win.
Because you put...
Okay, so yeah, sorry, let me say it out. Let me say it out normally. Sorry, instead of just doing math. So we would put these 2 on top of our library. This would go into the graveyard. We would then have these 2 to cast Grim Monolith, triggering Vivi. We would then activate Vivi, adding 1 red and 3 blue. Activate this, add 3 colorless, use that to that, trigger that. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. This 5 mana is actually really important because in Intuition, we already have Brain Freeze in our hand, so we can just get our standard Breach loop.
Beans, Breach, and...
Lion's Eye Diamonds.
Yeah. And Lion's Eye Diamond. No matter what they give us now, because we win.
They always give us Lion's Eye Diamonds because it gets rid of our hand completely. But in this case, we would actually... This goes in the graveyard. We would still cast Lion's Eye Diamond, deal the damage to everybody, and I would actually hard cast a flashback of Savine's Reclamation to get back Underworld Breach, and I would also... Let's see. Where is it? I mean, it doesn't really matter right now. Actually, yeah, no matter what, I would still hard cast Savine's Reclamation, and then I would still crack for 3. I was hoping to find a way to have a free cast Brain Freeze before discarding it, but it doesn't look like it. But either way,
fantastic. Yeah, you just win here.
Yeah, it's a turn 4 win. And it was just from mana.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Here we go.
That's a keeper.
Yeah, this is a definitely keep. We were going down to 6, we just pitched Brain Freeze, and we have a very solid hand. Turn 2, we would be starting with 4 mana. And then that 4 mana would give us Ranger Captain of Eos. And then, turn 1 would be Urza Saga, Mox Opal, Sensei's Divining Top. Then turn 2 would be 2 lands into Talisman of Conviction with the 2 mana. And it allows us to actually spin Sensei's Divining Top. And then turn 3 would crack Urza Saga into whatever the hell we want.
Well, it gets you Elsha, right?
Elsha.
Because you,
Elsha or Ranger Captain, whichever one you need more.
Well, you get turn, You get to you just play Elsha at that point, depending on what you draw.
So there is one thing you need to be worried about, though, because another thing to note is that Elsha is something that you shouldn't really be jamming into an empty board. I think this is something that I'm not really going to get into too much detail right now, but there is a term in the Elsha Discord we call a micro engine. Something that you need, something that like a card that is really good, but it needs supporting items in order to be even better than the sum of its parts. Elsha is a micro engine. It is very good. However, it is only extremely good when it has other cards to help it, a Dragon's Rage Channel or other things like that. This hand is good because it has Sensei's Divining Top with Elsha to support it and be able to clear the top of the deck. However, it means it also makes a massive threat level. It really jumps up your threat level to even more than Turbo decks because people still think Elsha is the boogeyman. Sorry, slight anger issues there. Anyway. But it is still a turn 3 Elsha with Sensei Divining Top into a turn 4 be able to draw 6 or 7 cards. It's quite powerful, but it's not game winning.
Got it. All right. Well, cool. This was awesome, man. I hope people enjoyed watching this. I hope people get a sense of what Elsha can do. It's really an interesting deck in the meta right now and attacks things from a very different angle than what everybody else is doing. So if this is something you want to do, Teifer, how do they reach out to you if they want to talk to you?
You can reach out to us over on the Discord. If you have access, you can go to the Moxfield Discord, either through my link by finding me on Moxfields, or you can see us through EDH Top 16. A lot of our deck list will have the primer and the Discord link right in there. We are in the Jeskai Monastery Discord, and you can find all of us there.
And I'll make sure that all those links are in the description below.
Yeah, I don't have social media, so.
Yeah, fair enough. So, guys, hopefully everyone enjoyed this. If you'd like this and you want to see me do more deck techs, please comment. Talk about whether or not you think this deck is great. If you don't like it, you can say that too. Say why, and we'll argue with you. That's fine.
Not everything's for everybody, so.
Yeah, exactly. And please like this video, subscribe to the channel, go buy your proxies from Manifold Proxies. And Teifer, thanks so much for taking the time to work with me on this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, and I love me some Elsha, so I'm always happy to talk about Elsha. So thanks everybody for joining, and I'll see you guys next time.